Okay, I think we're live on YouTube. I think we've got everybody. Hello, hello. It's Dr. Delicia. How are you guys? Hey, and there's Dr. Kim. Thanks for joining us. Awesome. All right. So we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So feel free to invite some of your friends to come and join us. Hi, Dr. Salika. Thank you for joining us. Fantastic. Thumbs up or wave if you can both see me and hear me on Instagram and on Facebook and on YouTube Live. You can? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Wanted to make sure that you could both see and hear me. Thank you guys for joining. I know you've got a lot going on. I appreciate it. So we're just going to give people a few more minutes to jump on. Hey, it's Miriam. How are you? So that's one of my team members who's been with me for 10 years, and she is currently out of the country. So thank you so much for joining us. Feeling the love, feeling the love. Oh, and thank you guys for joining. I don't know, like some of Charlie is here. Is that Les? That's Dr. Williams. Okay, okay. I love how the Instagram names like are not your name, and I'm trying to figure it out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're just going to give a few people a little bit more time to get here. Go ahead and get some water, get your lunch. I know we're on the lunch hour, and I appreciate you spending it with us. I'm really excited to be kind of launching this and going forward. So awesome. Awesome. Hello, Anthony. Good to see you. Hello. Awesome. Very good. So it looks like we've got Facebook in the house. We've got Instagram. We've got YouTube Live. So everyone can see and hear. So it looks like our technology is working today, which is always a blessing. Awesome. So we wanted to thank you again. Today is the official launch of my first book, which is called The Dawn, a medical student's roadmap to finding a light in their darkest hour. And it's been a labor of love. It's been something that's been on my heart for a long time. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Thank you for joining. So today I get to share that with all of you. Who am I? I'm Dr. Delicia Haynes. I'm the founder and First Health Center, where we are right now. I'm also a medical student mental health advocate. So I shine a light for medical students in their darkest hour, helping them overcome stress and depression. And that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm here. Hey, Dr. Andrew, good to see you. It's just one of those things we don't talk about enough is, depression, and especially amongst medical professionals. And so why the book is, it's written from the perspective of someone who's in medicine. It's a book that truly is eye-opening for anyone who is either dealing with depression themselves or has a loved one and they're trying to understand, what depression is and how they can support, their loved one. So for today only, you can actually get the book. It's available on Amazon. My team is going to be sharing, it's a bit.ly to go to Amazon and purchase the book there, the ebook. And it's only $2.99. So it's never going to be that low again. So make sure that you tell everyone that they can go there and they can get the book. And if you go there and you get the book, make sure you let me know so that I can, so that I know, because it's great to have written something. It's even better when it actually is shared with the world. And so this is one of my gifts that I've been able to share with my patients and with my friends. And it's something that I just look forward to. So Dr. Dietrich already has her book. Thank you, Dr. Dietrich. Just look forward to really sharing with more people. Wanted to again thank you for all of that. And let me see my little folder. Fantastic, thank you. So I have the book in front of me, the 40 over 40 version of the book, so that I can see it and be talking to you about it. So um, again, thank you so much for joining. And people will always ask kind of why, why I wrote the book, why now? And Dr. Powell got her book. Thank you so much, Dr. Lauren. Um, and Dr. Ashley as well. So fantastic. Thank you. So again, please go there and get your book. But I mentioned that this was it was a labor of love, and it has been. Um, in this book, I talk about depression and suicide, specifically amongst medical professionals, and I also weave my own personal story in there. And one of the reasons is because that we're really good at showing ourselves in our light, in our accomplishments and our big wins, but what we're not always good at is being vulnerable with each other, and that's especially in medicine, but it transcends medicine as well. So part of the book is sharing my own journey from being, struggling with depression, and to my kind of journey toward wellness and what I do now to maintain my own mental health. Hey, Dr. Sherry, good to see you. And so over half of the book is prevention. So I want to say that up front, so that we do a deep dive into kind of what depression is. Even more of the book is actually about prevention, and that's really important. If you have a history of depression, it's possible for you to have a history of depression and for it not to be your future. And so that's why I'm so excited about, just this information getting out there. One of my big goals is to make sure that this book gets into the hands of every single medical student before their white coat ceremony, before they even join the medical profession, because again, we do a great job of taking care of other people, but a lot of healers do not take care of themselves. And a lot of us are actually wounded healers. Like, we've had things that have happened in our background that have drawn us to medicine. And it's important to always to heal yourself, take care of yourself first. So, hey, Dr. Paula, thank you so much. So, I just, and it's just with a lot of gratitude that I'm sharing this. And, I know it'll be a benefit. It's already been a benefit to the few people who have read it so far. Some of whom have lost, physician colleagues, physician loved ones, and others who haven't, but the information they found to be very, very beneficial. And that's right, Dr. Sherry, before they even enter the medical field, because if I knew then what I knew now, right? So if we could all kind of go back in time and introduce ourselves to some information that would have been beneficial, this is what it's all about. Is really, it's kind of paying it forward. So a little bit about me. So, I was one of those people who always knew they wanted to be a doctor. When I was little, I wanted to either be a doctor, a teacher, or a lawyer. And I found out that if I became a doctor, I could do all three. I could teach my patients, I could teach medical students, I could teach the community. I could advocate for people, which was really the part of law that I liked, was advocacy. And then I could heal people, which is what drew me to medicine. And I had an experience when I was in 7th grade. I was taking a shower one day, and I noticed a lump in my breast. And at first I was kind of okay with it, because I've never been like the most voluptuous woman. So I was like, if I get one on the side, maybe I'll be kind of evened out. That lasted for just a few seconds, and then I got really scared. And I did what most of us do in that situation. We just hope it goes away. We don't tell anybody. We just hope it disappears. And months passed, it was still there. I told my mom, and my mom took me to the doctor's office. And I remember that we waited for hours in the waiting room before we got brought back into the treatment area. And then we got brought back into this room that was cold and blue and had the peeling paint. And even though the environment was really drab, I was excited, because I was looking at this as an opportunity for me to meet someone who was going to be a mentor of mine. like I said, I've been interested in medicine, but we didn't have any doctors in my family. So if we had a family business, it would be the mortuary services. And so I always tell people I try really hard not to support the family business. Um, so I was looking at this as a chance for me to meet someone who could be a future mentor of mine. And so I was excited. And so another hour, passes, and in walks the doctor. And me and all my seventh grade enthusiasm said, I want to be a doctor too. And he looked at me over his glasses and he said, take your top off. And I looked over at my mom and she nodded that it was okay. And, I took off my blouse and he walked over. He didn't introduce himself, didn't wash his hands, and he just started pressing on my chest. And then he leaned back and he said, it's probably benign fibroadenoma. We won't know for sure until we have it surgically removed. Due to the location, the scar will be small, so if she wants to be a stripper when she grows up, that'll be fine. And he walked out the door. So that was my introduction to medicine, and I started to cry. My mom said, Jaleesa, put your shirt on, I'm going to go talk to him. And she went out to the hallway, but he was already in another room and wouldn't come back and talk to us. And I decided right then that when I became a doctor, I was going to be the type of doctor that I wish that I had. The type of doctor that doesn't make you wait for hours for a 7-minute appointment, the type of doctor that doesn't do 7-minute appointments, the type of doctor that if you have a question after the exam is over, you can get your questions answered. And they speak to you in plain English, because I didn't know what benign meant. I didn't know what a fibroadenoma was. I knew what surgery was because I've been watching the surgery channel. But just wanted to be that kind of doctor. And so that journey started for me. And so many times in my career, I've looked back and thought about my 7th grade self and if she would be proud of me. Because it's interesting, the children have a lot more wisdom than we sometimes give them credit for. So on my journey, I got to my senior year of high school, and my dad was in the military, so oftentimes we had to move. And we moved my senior year of high school from Maryland to Kentucky, which was a big culture shock. And at first I came in and I was going to get involved in all these organizations and do all these amazing things. And I came in like that, just ready to kind of like conquer and move on. And what happened is I started to just have this overwhelming sadness all the time. I wasn't eating. I usually am someone who takes a lot of time as far as their appearance, not quite as much as I did today, but just cared about their appearance and about showering and that sort of thing. And I just kind of was like, I showered 2 days ago. All the things that I used to be interested in, I found that I wasn't interested anymore. There just was nothing that made me smile, nothing that kind of lit me up. I just completely lost my fire. My energy level was low. I was snappy to my siblings and to my parents, which they put the fear of God in me at a young age. So that was definitely a sign. But I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know what I was going through. And it got to the point where I started to have thoughts like, what? It would be better off if I just wasn't here. The world would be a better place if I wasn't in it. And I, luckily for me, I had a teacher, Mrs. Balfour, my English teacher, who required that we keep a journal. And so she saw my writing change over time. We're coming in with all of this enthusiasm, and then over time getting to the point where I was saying things like, it would be better off if I wasn't here. And I've always been, I took a lot of my self-worth at that time came from my grades and came from that sort of thing. So I was, 4.0 student, all of that. And it doesn't really matter, because when your brilliant mind turns against you, it can take you to depths possible. And again, luckily for me, I had a teacher who recognized what I was dealing with and going through. And she actually pulled me out of another class to talk to me and to talk to my father. And then we talked to both my parents, and it was the beginning of me getting help. So I went and I saw a psychologist. Well, I saw my family doctor first, and I saw a psychologist. And for me, it was a combination of both kind of medication therapy, a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, and then track season came around, and I have always loved track. And my dad encouraged me to go out for the team. He actually became the coach of the team, and so I started running track, and that combination of movement and activity, and over time, my depression started to lift. And the most important thing is that I knew what it was. Um, so, um, and that's the hardest thing, is that it can be such an insidious decline that you don't even understand that it's happening to you until you're really at the depths. So, I came out of that in high school, went to college at the University of Louisville, was blessed to get a full ride both for track and for academics. So I was a Division I athlete all through my time at the University of Louisville, and really didn't have many problems as far as my mental health goes, because I was so active. I had endorphins just all the time. And so, I had a great time at the University of Louisville. It came time to decide where I was going to go to medical school, and I was blessed to get a full ride at the University of Louisville. But they were going through some curriculum changes, and I knew that the curriculum was going to be unsettled. And the University of Kentucky College of Medicine, which didn't offer full ride, but they had a settled curriculum, and they also had a minority affairs office, who I knew, Miss Anna Ellen Edwards, who was the lady that was over it, who went to my church. So I knew that if I went to the University of Kentucky, I would have more support there. And so I decided to go to the University of Kentucky for medical school, and I took on, the debt that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But, an investment in your mental health is an investment that always pays back in dividends. I'm so glad that I decided to go there and to be with her and have that extra support. So I got to my second year of medical school, and, I made it through my first year, and I was, on paper, was always doing well, but never felt like I was doing well. I always felt like I was steps away from guaranteed failure every second. And a lot of my classmates felt that way as well. And I got to my second year, and those symptoms started to come back. I was having difficulty concentrating. I would be studying for hours looking at the same page and wasn't retaining any information. I was just putting on a mask every day and going to class and just trying to learn and trying to power through, and it wasn't happening. I was having difficulty. I couldn't sleep. And then when I did sleep, I would oversleep. It was just, it was all of those signs that I was having before were coming back. And I was so mad at myself because, I was in medical school at this time. And I felt like because I'm a doctor, because I'm a physician in training, and I know the mnemonics for depression, I know them cold, that I should be immune, that this should not affect me. So I was really just mad at myself, thank you, Dr. Dre, that this was affecting me again. Even though now I'm in medical school and I know what depression is, I really felt like I should be immune from it. And I, again, I tried to power through. I started trying to do other things to make myself feel better. So I became the president of all these different organizations. I was tutoring at a youth center. I was just doing all these kind of external things, which were all fantastic things. But when I was honest with myself, I was trying to fill an internal void with an external thing, which we know will never work. But I just kept listening. I was just clawing at ways to kind of keep myself from going deeper into the depression that I knew I was in. And so I spoke to my dad, and my dad started to notice. And that's when I knew it was bad, when other people, when my mask was not even, so that other people could actually see what was happening. My dad said, you need to take a break. And I said, this is medical school, we don't take breaks. And I talked to my pastor, Pastor Gaines, and he said, you know what, I think you need to take a sabbatical. And I was like, this is medical school. It's not a PhD program. It's nothing against PhDs. You guys are doing your thing. But I was like, we don't do sabbaticals. This is medical school. And I just was, I was just committed to just continuing to trudge along, even though I knew that I was going downhill. And in my efforts to get involved in these organizations, one of the organizations I became president of, our faculty advisor was also the dean of students. So there was the American Medical Student Association, which I had reactivated, and the dean of students was also a psychiatrist, and that was his background. So I had to meet with him in order to go over things for the organization. And he was also the person that anytime, I got to the point where I was missing tests because I, had overslept, and I had to go to him in order to get permission to take the test. And he said, Delicia, I think you need to take a break. While your grades are still good, you can do a personal leave of absence. It's not going to, show up negatively on your, on your academic record. And when he gave me the permission to take a break, I was able to give myself the permission to take a break. And taking a break was the best decision that I've ever made in my career. I'm a much better doctor because of the experience that I've had and because of taking that break. It was a break that I needed. I needed to take care of myself before I was going to be able to take care of other people. And, I really just needed that time. So I took a break, kind of took a break. In the book, I go into a little bit more detail there, but I took a break, and in that time, we had 5 deaths in my family. So we, from my grandfather to my 3-month-old niece, Ayana. And when other people heard about the break and about the depression, they would kind of like they would say she had 5 deaths in her family, and then she became depressed. And I never corrected them, because I felt like you have to have a reason, right? You just can't just happen. Even though I knew that you don't have to have a reason when you're dealing with depression. But, I took that break. I came back and finished, actually, did some amazing things through SNMA, the Student National Medical Association, while we were there. And I decided, when I came into medical school, I kind of thought I was going to go into psychiatry. And I recognized with my experience that the people that I really most enjoy taking care of are people who don't know that they would benefit from seeing a psychiatrist. I wanted to be really kind of at the front lines. And there were a lot of other things. I kind of enjoyed a lot of things. And so with family medicine, you're able to do a bunch of different things. So I went into family medicine. I was, I ranked Halifax as my number 1, and I was blessed to get it. I moved down to Daytona Beach and started my training. And during our second year of residency, we had to do a presentation, a grand rounds. And I decided to do mine on suicide and depression amongst physicians. And my advisor at the time was very much against it because they didn't think that I would find enough material to last for an entire hour. And I did, and did that presentation and presented at a couple of national conferences. And then I graduated from residency and I started my own business. I had a very strong vision for how I wanted to practice medicine. And so I knew that I needed to kind of start my own, and I did that in a just regular kind of insurance-based practice straight out of residency. 6 years in, I got to, some of those familiar symptoms started to come back, and I was like, we're not going there. And I made some really big shifts in my practice and my treatment. One of those was transitioning my practice from insurance-based to going to direct primary care, where now I just take care of my patients one-on-one, and I'm directly accountable to them and not to the big insurance companies. And when people, ask me about that transition was just as much of a mental health decision as it was as a business decision. And so I transitioned my practice, gave me a lot more time to teach, which is one of the things I really enjoyed doing. And in 2017, a lot of things happened. I didn't really talk about depression much. I kind of started my own practice. I didn't want to become known as the depressed doctor. And when I'm also honest with myself, I knew I wasn't immune. It had happened. I had 2 major episodes of depression. And so I knew that I wasn't immune from it. And so I thought, what if I go out and I start talking about this and it happens again? What is that going to look like? So I really, I didn't. I would share sometimes with people who I knew would benefit them. But in terms of, speaking widely about it, I really didn't speak at all. And then 2017, I become the president of Volusia County Medical Society and had to do these write-ups to send out to everyone. And I didn't want to do kind of like a regular, I wanted to be kind of a more personal write-up when I was writing. And I was on Facebook one day and I was scrolling and I saw that Pamela Weibel had posted a picture of a young man in a white coat in front of a red background. And I remember that that background is really what jarred me because I recognized it. So I teach with Florida State University College of Medicine, and they have all their students stand in front of this red background. Thank you for getting your book. And so I saw this picture, and I realized that I read it that we had lost a second-year medical student to suicide, one of our own, and so I immediately sent an email to Dean Lucky Dunn, who is the dean of the local campus here. And I said, you know what, I need to come in, I need to talk to your students, and you can't be in the room. And I went in and I talked to them. It wasn't anything fancy. It was literally like me sitting on a stool, just being really open and vulnerable with my future colleagues about some of the stressors that they were going to be facing, that they already had faced, and just being really open and being really honest with them. A few weeks after that, I was in a car accident and had a traumatic brain injury. And a few weeks after that, my friend died by suicide. And I totally didn't see it coming. And he was one of those guys, he was a lawyer. He was one of those people that was always there for everyone else. He was always checking in on me. And I just had no idea. We'd had all of our conversations. We were both, up there doing amazing things in our respective fields. We had all these amazing conversations, but I recognized that we'd never really been vulnerable with each other about what else was going on. Because it's great to have all these external accomplishments, but none of that is going to fill an internal void. And so it was after we lost a medical student, after I lost my very best friend, one of my best friends, is when I made a commitment to doing whatever needed to be done to make sure that word was getting out as far as what depression is and how it can show up in yourself and what we can do to prevent it. Because I've been very successful, kind of in external things, but I've also, more importantly, been successful in maintaining my own mental health. And there's a lot of things that I do on a daily basis that help me to do just that. And again, half of the book is prevention.